So we just want to start out by introducing you. We wanted to introduce you because we've been following you for like over a year now, and I think your passion is super clear. And you can, working in the fitness nutrition industry, you can spot people who are genuine or phony pretty easily. So we just immediately saw you as someone who was super genuine, and so we wanted to just chat with you some more and have our followers get to know you as well.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's nice knowing that people can see it. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the most important things in this industry is like, if you're not passionate and like authentic and you're not willing to push that super hard, I think it's going to bite you in the ass eventually.
Oh, for sure.
Especially because it's so flooded. This industry is so flooded with people trying to push their products. So it's when you can spot the people that are being authentic, you kind of want to cling on to them because it's a dirty industry.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, 100% agree.
So when did you start the Boom Boom Performance?
Oh shit. You know what? It's funny because I started a blog I was 18 because I graduated high school at 17, and I started my fitness journey when I was 18 trying to lose weight. And I went to school and I was trying to write for their fitness section in the college paper at a community college. And I was going to school for business, and I started a blog called Be Fit, Live Great. And then it was like .weebly.com because I used this like drag and drop website creator. And I think my mom was the only person that read my blogs at the time, but I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to keep writing. So that's technically when it started. But when it became a legit business was actually 2.5 years ago. So it hasn't been that long. Now I've been writing blogs and training clients and putting out content for the last 7 years, every single week. But it wasn't until 2.5 years ago that I started really kind of getting sought out for programming elsewhere of Seattle, right? Like I was coaching a lot of people in Seattle and I was sharing a lot of stuff, and people started hitting me up and saying, hey, I live in New York. Can you coach me? Hey, I live in Florida. Can you coach me? And that's when I was like, okay, this might be something. And I actually just had people Venmo me, and I was like, sure, man, like 8 weeks. I charged them dirt cheap because I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I didn't have a business. So technically Uncle Sam would be pissed at me because I wasn't doing things the right way. But I just started going with it. And that's when I was like, okay, I should probably create an LLC. And I started really building things up. And it just, I mean, since then that was 2016. It's just been growing like crazy.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's something too that like goes to show your passion that I've heard you talk about before is like how much work you put in and like how much content you put out just because you love doing it without it really being a business or anything. And then eventually like that all pays off, which is awesome.
And I think, you know what, like my personal brand business, it like from a financial standpoint, it did grow really quick, but it's like one of those overnight successes that took 7 years of like grinding, you know what I mean? Like to really get there, because for a long time I was just helping people out for free. I was training people in a gym. And because I was training people in the gym, obviously I wasn't making as much money as I would be now because I own the business. But I mean, back then I was learning so much. I was traveling, I was going to seminars, I was working with some of the top level coaches that I could. So I wouldn't take any of that back because it was just such a good educational phase, especially because, I mean, I met my mentors when I was 18, and some of them are some really big names in the industry of strength and conditioning. So I got put into a gym that was not like LA Fitness. It was a functional gym with a lot of good names coming in the doors all the time at such a young age. It was perfect, and it kind of helped mold me into the right field without going through all the dogmatic or shitty approaches along the way.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. Did you do you feel like your passion for doing this kind of came from your own personal journey? Like, did you struggle with like nutrition and fitness beforehand, or was it kind of something you were already into?
100%. I think it helped me. I think a lot of people were surprised. I was a fat kid, so I was not like always lean and in shape. I was always, it was weird. I was like the black sheep in my family. My family is all athletic and lean. Both my parents are short and lean and athletic. My brother had a 6-pack growing up and ate horrible food. But for some reason, I was just like this chunk, right? I was this chubby kid. And I played soccer, so I wasn't like super, super overweight, but I was always chubby. And it got to me because, you know, your friends give you shit and you don't like the way you look. And it wasn't until I was in high school that I started leaning out because I got really into soccer. And then I tore my meniscus and got out of soccer because I'd have surgery, obviously, in rehab, and I didn't rehab well. So I gained weight. And then I came back to soccer the next year and tore my ACL in the same knee. And so after that time, I gained even more weight. Yeah. So at this point, I graduate high school and I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not going to go play college soccer. I'm more overweight than I've ever been. And all of my friends are off either getting into bad shit or they are at universities playing basketball and football and doing what I really wanted to do. So I was just kind of at this low, and that's when it all kind of clicked for me. And I just remember looking in the mirror and being like, something has to change. And at this point, I've never stepped foot in a gym in my entire, like I literally avoided the gym like the plague. Like I hated it. And I didn't like training. I ate really bad. I was young. So I mean, a lot of pop, sugar, cereal, just junk food. And then this isn't the right way to do it, but I just went cold turkey. I literally cut out everything. I started just researching what was healthy and started eating better, started training. I met somebody at the college, changed my degree within like a month of this happening. So I was still chubby, but I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go become a personal trainer. I'm going to change my degree right now. I forged my dad's signature to do it. And I just started like, I'm an action taker. So if I get an idea, I'm like, I'm going for it. I don't care about the repercussions. And I just went all in. And I mean, it just kind of, I got lucky that I really became super passionate about it, because if a year later I decided I hated fitness, I would have been screwed. But it was awesome. So yeah, I think like a long-winded answer, I think my personal past of avoiding the scale, avoiding the mirror, like being that kid that couldn't do the pull-ups in the test in PE class, couldn't run the mile very fast, like that kind of shit just ate me alive like over time, and I just kind of suppressed it. And once I got old enough, I looked at it dead in the face and then was like, this has got to change. So, and I think that helps me relate to clients. You know what I mean? I think if you had some kind of personal battle, I think it's hard to relate and come down to their level. And I think that's why clients like working with me, is because they know that I've been in the same shoes before.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think the best coaches are the ones that have had a struggle, no doubt. I mean, how can you really like coach someone if you have no idea? So
if you've been blessed with the abs your entire life, it's hard to connect with people. So
absolutely.
We kind of wanted to talk to you about is, you know, you work with a ton of people that are, you know, wanting to get in shape. What do you feel is the biggest common misconception in the fitness industry that you're trying to break? So what's something that you hear over and over and that you're kind of going against the grain and you're trying to smash that old misconception?
You know, for me, I would say, like you guys know this too, like a big one is under eating. And I think Jason Phillips and Ian3 have done a great job of bringing it to light in the CrossFit world, but I'm not in the CrossFit world, and I still see it every day, right? It's not just the CrossFit space. I think everybody gets sucked into this like calorie deficit approach. And there's even coaches out there that are saying like, it really is calories in versus calories out. So just like put the fork down and you'll lose weight. Like if you're in a calorie deficit and you're not losing weight, then you're not tracking right, or you're not entering things in your MyFitnessPal. And to me, that's BS. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't take a lot of things into play, and we both know that. So my biggest thing that I see is that people aren't prioritizing stress in general, right? Like a lot of people target stress from training, but not from their relationships, from their work, from their day-to-day life, from just like emotional stress. And I like to implement a lot of mindset strategies to my clients, because I believe that if we can calm them down, get them to sleep better, get them to stress less, naturally their body's going to utilize their nutrition better. Naturally, their body's going to recover from training better. They're going to perform better. Everything just works out better. So I think that it's not necessarily a misconception, because everybody knows that stress isn't necessarily good when it's overdone. But that's the most common thing I see, is just too much stress, no matter where it's coming from. And a lot of times for me, because I do training as well, that's in the training realm. Like I see people that are doing like bodybuilding style training programs 6 days a week, and that's okay. But your session should be like 30 to 45 minutes if you're doing it 6 days a week. But they're doing an hour and a half each day, or they're doing like full bodybuilding workouts with a CrossFit Metcon at the end, or they're doing CrossFit 5 days a week and just going a little too hard and not eating enough. So no matter what it is, I see too much stress in some capacity.
Absolutely.
So if someone comes to you and they're really wanting you like set up a training program for them, and you think that they have way too much stress in their life to like really handle that, will you kind of put your foot down and tell them that you're going to focus on eliminating stress before you're going to give them like 5 days a week of a training program? Or do you just kind of like program it really, really low impact? How do you kind of handle that?
I think it depends on the client, because in some cases, like if I say, hey, we're going to drop volume, like you're training 6 days a week, we need to train 3 days a week. We're going to do like low intensity cardio instead of high intensity cardio right now. Like red alert, they're freaking out, right? They're not going to agree with that. They're probably going to fire me and then go hire somebody that will just give them what they want to hear. So in those cases, I'm like, okay, we can still train 6 days a week, but I'm adding like super long negatives. I'm changing the tempos. I'm changing like back squats to front squats so they can purposely lift less. But I know that because the negative is 10 seconds long, they got to slow down. They're going to feel like a burn, which is not going to harm their nervous system much, but it's going to make them feel like they're doing some work. So sometimes there's like just trickery into the programming of like really getting them to ease out. And then like explaining things, right? Like I like to educate them on like, high intensity is great, and I do think there's a lot of benefit. But if you're always doing high intensity, I have much better fat loss results from my clients with low intensity cardio. Like, yeah, it's boring. You got to sit on a bike for 30, 40 minutes. But if you're going hard all the time, your body is adapting to that high intensity modality, right? Like you're in that metabolic mode of always going balls to the wall. But if we switch it up, your body isn't used to that. It will adapt better, and it will create that fat loss you want to see. So sometimes it's changing things up. Sometimes it's talking to them. And if they're in a really bad place, like, and I'm sure you guys have seen this too, I've had people with really bad hormonal issues, and I'm like, look, like you're hiring me because you're in this like very stressed position, and I'm just not even going to sugarcoat it. You have to do less. So you're paying me, and I'm going to make you do this. And I just go with it. You can email me every single day for accountability if you want, but we got to tone it down. And for some people that's enough, right? Because if they've been doing the same thing for the last 2 years and they're just stuck in this rut, sometimes I don't need to try to trick them into it. I'm just like, look, if you want this, this is the only way it's going to work. And then they'll go with it. So I think it kind of depends.
Right. So we have a lot of clients coming to us because we only do nutrition coaching. And so it's cool that you do both because you kind of see like both sides of it. But you're someone that we could totally utilize to like send people to, because they'll come to us and we're dialing in their nutrition, yet they have no idea what to do on the workout end of it. We do have people who CrossFit, but we have a good number who just really are lost when it comes to going to the gym. And so we have a couple questions following that. First, like what would be the first thing that you would recommend people do if like, okay, they're dialing in their nutrition, but they're trying to find like somewhere to start with fitness? Like what would be your first recommendation for someone like that?
I always recommend getting now there's so many ebooks out there. Like John Russin has a good one. Obviously I have Functional Muscle. I'm coming out with another one next week. Jason refers a lot of clients to my ebook Functional Muscle, and I just give any of his clients a discount, right? So like I have other people that are in that same position because I'm in the nutrition space. And I actually started creating them. It's funny. I created them because I knew when I was having coaches come on board, they would only be doing nutrition. And I wanted to be able to supply our clients with a good training program. And I mean, speaking of CrossFit, I took a screenshot today. I had a list of people commenting about how they switched from CrossFit to Functional Muscle. And there is an intensity component of that. But I think it's just a little bit less intensity, and it's what they needed at the time, right? And if you can balance the two, I have people that do both. Like they only do 2 days of Functional Muscle and 3 days of CrossFit, and it works great. But I think the best thing to do is to start with just that. Like find a program that you can purchase for a little bit less than a coach, right? You can go on my website and buy that for $70, which sounds like a lot to people, but for 9 weeks of programming, that's dirt cheap. And if it gives you, you know what I mean? If it gives you explanations on why you're doing it, what you're doing, how to do each movement, and there's a progression scheme, which is what a lot of people fail to plug in, is like, day one, just get in the gym. You're going to progress regardless, right? Like, but after a while, if you don't have a plan of like how I'm going to get better next week, and then the week after that, and the week after that, then you're kind of shooting in the dark because you're just doing things just to do them. And in 4 months, if I go, hey, like, have you gotten stronger? Have you built muscle endurance? Have you built hypertrophy? They're like, I don't know. Well, it's like we need metrics, right? Just like macros or reverse dieting, you have this metric that's going week after week after week. So you can look back and know exactly how much progress they've made. But with training, people forget to do that. They think they can just go lift weights and it's all good. So my best recommendation is like hit the compound lifts, right? Squat, bench, deadlift, do a ton of rowing because a lot of people have poor shoulder health. So a lot of horizontal pulling, do something for your core and hopefully do some like unilateral movements. So whether it's single arm, single leg, something in that unilateral plane helps a lot. If you do those main things, you've hit every muscle in your body. You're helping your posture, you're helping your movement patterns. And then if you need like specific stuff after that point, go research somebody that is putting out like a product like mine, or like John Russin's is one that I recommend after people do mine if they want something different. Stuff like that is perfect because it sets you up for success. You can't just go wing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, for sure, link your book. That'll be a good reference for people. Cool. And then off of that, we also have a lot of people who come and they're like, okay, I'm going to focus on nutrition. But the thought of, or I want to change up my workout plan and I really want to change up my nutrition, but I can't do both right away. I feel like two of them at once is like way too much. What would you recommend someone focus on first?
Ooh, I mean, my classic answer is always, it's always, it depends, right?
Right.
It's always, it depends. I think for a lot of people, training is really helpful because for some reason people, and this is why nutrition coaching is, in my opinion, more valuable than training, because I've created those ebooks because I have a lot of people that are like, I don't know if I can afford your like top coaching thing. And I'm like, dude, just do nutrition with me. I'll give you the ebook for free, because training is individualized, and I think that's important, especially if you have a specific goal or if you have past injuries and stuff. But modifications are so easy, and I have so many people following functional muscle that are on completely different ends of the spectrum, and they're all successful. With nutrition, it's so individual that I think that it's easier to hit training first because we can give a very basic approach and they're just moving, right? And because nutrition is so individual, I think people struggle with it more. So in a lot of times I will be like, hey, all I want you to do is just record your diet, whether it's on a notepad or an app, and then we're going to focus on training because I just got to get you moving. And I think it's an easier thing for people to commit to at the beginning. It's not a whole lot of change, right? And after that, then I implement nutrition. Now, obviously, if somebody comes to me for just nutrition, it's always nutrition that I focus on. But even having a nutrition coach to just hold you accountable, right? Like if somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, I don't want to track macros, but I need something to change. All right, cool. Let's just try to eat better. And I'm just going to hold you accountable of that. Like stay in touch with me every day. Right now, let's focus on just get your movement in. Even if you don't coach people on training, tell them to go train and just keep you accountable of them eating better. They will make progress for months without implementing macros if you do that. So to me, like very, very simple nutrition and then just some kind of movement is always first.
Yeah. I love that answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of clients, that come to us and they have a hard time finding the balance of it all. They have kids that are in sports, they're working full time, and they just kind of feel overwhelmed with it all. And you're a new dad. You're running a successful company, you're training. How do you find balance in the craziness of life? What keeps you centered?
I would be lying if I said I didn't struggle with it. I'll be honest with you guys. And full transparency, that is like, if there's ever anything that causes any type of issue in my life, that is always it. Like everything else, I'm very, very easy going about. It's hard for me to shut down because this is my baby. You know what I mean? Now I have another baby. So now I'm like, okay, let me put one away, go to the other. It's tough. But scheduling is huge. Like, I mean, to the point where I used to be like, that's ridiculous to have to schedule those things. But now I'm like, you know what? I have to schedule every single thing into my day, into my week. That's totally fine. And I'll do it. So having time blocks is a really big thing. I changed my training so much when I found out I was having a baby. I mean, first of all, I started building a garage gym because I was like, I don't want to go anywhere. So I do have a setup in my garage now, which not everybody can do, but my workouts are 30 to 45 minutes now, where they used to be an hour and a half. I used to train for a long period of time because I had the time and I love being in the gym, but I would go really hard for like an hour and a half, but I would do that like 4 days a week, maybe 5. Now I'm doing like 6 days a week and maybe even a 7th day, but they're like 30 to 45 minutes, like very short, just to the point, get something done, be productive and get out of there. And the reason is because I'm running a business all day, and then I want to be done by 5 so I can spend time with my family. And that's where the most difficult part comes in, because if I get a notification, I'm like, I want to check it, like what's going on. Or if a lead comes in, like I want to respond, I want to get it to my assistant, I want to do this stuff. And it's hard for me to be like, that can wait till tomorrow, because then you can lose a client. But at a certain point, like none of this matters. Like you can make a ton of money, you can have a huge brand. Like none of it matters if you don't have somebody to spend it with. So to me, like I should say Shannon has to check me sometimes and be like, why are you doing this? And remind me. And she's a very strong woman. She's a very strong, opinionated woman. So she's blunt with me, and I'm extremely happy about that, because if I didn't have somebody to kind of kick me in the ass every once in a while to be like, what do you really want? Then it would be a lot harder. You know what I mean? She's not somebody you can walk all over, which is great. And more attractive to me personally. But, so I think balance is a struggle, but just separating my time efficiently, right? Like I have a time in my morning that's dedicated to content. And during that time, it's about an hour and a half. I don't check emails. I don't text anybody. I don't listen to a podcast. I don't do anything. I listen to music and I create content, and that's it. And I do it like offline. So I don't go on Instagram and create content. I create content through my computer off the Wi-Fi. And when I'm ready to post, I'll post it later. Then I have a time period for emails. And that's when my clients get their emails back from me 90% of the time. And I don't do anything but email during that time. I have a podcast time. I have a calls window, which is basically whether it's sales calls or coaching calls with my mentor clients or this, like it's all between that 11 to 2 p.m. So I know that if I have a call, it's always going to be in that time zone. So having strict time blocks and knowing that like when 2 p.m. hits, my calls are over, just do that. Or like when my content hour is done, like actually stop, even if I'm not done with the content, like you have to stop. That it's hard, but that's the most important thing. Because now when it does hit 5 p.m. and that's like quote unquote family time, I'm actually done with everything. Whereas before it was just controlled chaos. I would just be like adding shit to the list and just doing as much as I can. And then it's like, oh, are you done for the day? And I'm like, well, no, I'm never done. I'm just going to keep doing shit until I can't think of anything to do, which is never, because you own a business. So having like a time blocks and then a to-do list. I have like, every night I write like 5 or 6 things I have to do tomorrow. And if it's 3 p.m. and I've got those things done, I'm cool. I'll sign off. I'm done. Right. But I think there's a lot to it, and it's all trial and error.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And I think too, like, we struggle with it, and like a lot of our clients struggle with it, is like you think it's selfish to like be like, no, like this is my time to food prep, or this is my time to like focus on me and my workout, or whatever it may be. But in the end, it's actually creating better quality of life for you and for the people that you love and people around you. So I think in the end, like doing what you're doing is creating just a better quality life.
Well, I think like this is a really cheesy thing to say, but that's like the airplane thing, right? Like you have to put your mask on before anybody else. And the truth is if I don't, I'm going to start suffocating and I won't be able to save anybody. So I look at life like that constantly. If I don't wake up in the morning, I take a 30-minute walk at 5:30 in the morning. Like nobody is outside. I don't have usually don't have any headphones in, like it's quiet. If I don't do that and then go home, write my gratitude journal, do my journaling, like have these little things I do, I won't have clarity. I won't have like power. I won't have control. And then I become a dickhead to everybody else that comes in my life. And we know that nobody wants Cody the dickhead. So for me, it's like having that understanding too. And I tell Shannon like, hey, I wake up in the morning and this is why, this is what I do. And it makes me like the positive person, the stress-free person, like the easygoing person that I am. Like my workout, I have to work out. Like even if it's quick, like every day I have some kind of movement because it's just like my release. Like that's my thing. And now that we have that understanding, it just makes everything so much easier. And I can be a better husband. I can be a better dad. I can be better to my clients. And that one especially, because I think it's funny as coaches, you struggle to not email back right away or not text back right away, or like take your own time to do shit, or like, hey, I'm going to take the weekend off or a vacation. Like, I'm sorry. 9 times out of 10, the clients are like, okay, cool. It's a job. I get it. I do that all the time. Like they work a job, and as soon as they clock out, they're out and they don't respond to anybody. Yeah. So they don't always expect coaches to do the same. And I think I struggle with that a lot. Like I remember I used to work 6 days a week in the gym for years. And I finally got to a point where it's like, I'm making enough money. I have enough clients. I'm going to take Saturdays off. And even if I lose those clients, it is what it is. And I was so nervous to tell these clients. And every single one of them was like, dude, good. You've been here for 4 years working Saturdays, dude. Like, go live. You're 21. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is like what I've been stressing about. So I think that usually it's stories in our head that create those things. You know what I mean? But I think it's so important to take care of yourself before anybody else, because that's the only way to take care of people how you possibly could.
Right.
Oh, I love that. I love all of that.
We can completely relate to that.
Yes.
An email comes in and we're like, your heart starts like palpitating, like I have to answer it now.
Right?
It's silly. One more thing, just kind of for our clients, and anyone who's following us, I think one of the biggest struggles that we all have kind of is in the busyness of life is finding a way to like constantly be adhering to your plan and having that consistency. I think consistency is huge to see progress over the long term. So maybe someone who's having trouble like staying consistent with their plan, like what's the first thing that you would say to them to try to like recenter and have them find that motivation to like stay on track?
So for coaches, I always say education is the key to get your clients to adhere, because imagine if somebody was like, hey, I want you to go to this place, do this thing, and just stay there and keep doing it for the next 3 months. And they're like, okay, well, so why am I doing that? No, don't worry about why. Just do it.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what the hell? No, there's no way I'm doing it. So I always say, like, for clients watching this, ask questions, because we love to geek out. So anytime a client asks me a question, one of my clients asked me a periodization question. She was like, why are we programming like this? And I literally sent her the longest email I've ever sent, like breaking down the science of training, all this stuff. And it was probably too much, to be honest with you. But the point is like, if clients were more willing and wanting to learn, I think they would be more adherent, because it's easy to stick to something when you know why you're sticking to it. And so for coaches, educate your clients, because they're going to stick to it better. But then the other thing too is I always tell people, like, consistency is a snowball effect. And it sounds weird, but the best way to be consistent for a year is to start by being consistent now. And they're like, okay, I get it. I struggle with consistency, but look at it in a small window. If you are consistent for 7 days, I guarantee it'll be easier to do it the next 7 days, and then the next 7 days. And then next thing you know, you're 8 weeks in and you're like, holy shit, I've been doing really well. But if we look at it like, I need to be consistent for the next 6 months to get to my goal, it's too long of a tunnel. You know what I mean? So I think that I always tell people, like, let's just focus on 1 day, 1 week at a time. I've even had people, like, a little tactic for you is take a calendar and mark a red X on every day that they've hit whatever habit they want to hit, right? So maybe it's tracking macros. So day 1, big red X. Day 2, big red X. Like, psychologically, and they've done studies on this, after 3 red X's, you will not want to break that streak. So you will do whatever you need to do to make sure that you can mark a 4th red X and then a 5th red X. And then next thing you know, the whole month is red X's, right? So that's a really powerful one. If you want to implement a habit, start marking red X's. And again, it's a snowball. So like, once you start being consistent, it'll be so much easier to be consistent, because the hardest part is taking action, right? It's not like at week 8, it's easy at this point. Day 1 is difficult because you have to make changes to your lifestyle.
Right. Right. Yeah. I know we have that conversation all the time. It's like, if you get a taste of like being successful, even if it's like a couple days in a row, and you like taste what it feels like to be successful in that and like see some progress, then it's just going to like fuel your fire. It's a good feeling. Yeah.
100%.
Okay, well, we won't waste much more of your time since you've helped us out so much already.
It's not a waste at all.
Yeah. We'll leave you with one final question. Mal, take it away.
Okay, if you could pick one food that you could eat as much of that you wanted for the rest of your life without any negative side effects, what food would that be?
Oh my God.
There's so many good foods to choose from.
You know what's funny is I'm so bad with this, because like a quote unquote cheat meal for me is like really nice beer. Like I don't crave anything crazy. So the first thing that popped to mind was like a big baked sweet potato with a ton of butter. Like I love baked sweet potato and butter.
Yeah.
But like, I know you guys want something like something
a little
different.
juicier.
because I eat that like every day as is.
There's a testimony to your lifestyle.
Shit, it's tough. I would probably go with my grandma's pumpkin pie all day. I would literally, so I'm the only one in my family that will eat it too. It's funny. So she'll make a pumpkin pie and then like the other pies, and I will eat the whole entire pumpkin pie at whatever holiday is. So if I could eat that every single day and not have a heart attack at 50 and stay lean, game over. That's what it would be.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I love it.
Yeah. Grandma's anything is usually the best.
Yep.
Always.
Okay, well,
thank you so much for giving us an afternoon of your time. We really appreciate it. Like we said, you're our first, interview.
It was a good one.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you so much for having me. I love doing these things. So anytime you guys want me to come back, I'm always down.
Awesome. And we'll probably see you in Vegas.
100%. I'll be there.
Cool.
We'll see you there.
Okay.
Thanks, Cody.
All right. Thanks.